An extensive range of different polymeric materials is available nowadays. Polymeric materials can be separated in different ways. For example, based on their physical and chemical properties, according to their origin, the choice of monomers from which the polymers are prepared, their susceptibility to degradation or biodegradation, and so on. One of the polymers or groups of polymers that you have probably heard a lot about lately is also bioplastics. What do you think bioplastics is? What is the difference between bioplastics and plastics? It is well known that most of the plastics are petroleum-based. The price of petroleum varies, and there are also quite some uncertainties about its future. Besides, plastic is associated with negative impacts on the environment and problems with waste disposal. All this negative connotation has been a driving force for finding new solutions in the field of polymeric materials. This means also finding alternatives in the direction of bio-based plastics. All plastics that are either bio-based or biodegradable are classified as bioplastics. Bioplastics may even be plastics produced from petroleum and being degradable. On the other hand, bioplastics are also the plastics obtained from corn, for example. In such cases, they are bio-based and not biodegradable. An example of this kind of plastic is BioPET, biopolyethylene terephthalate. It has precisely the same properties as petroleum-derived polyethylene terephthalate. So, whether material is degradable or not, is not affected by whether it is obtained from petroleum or a natural source. Only its chemical composition affects this. As far as bioplastics are concerned, we may have a bit of a misconception that they are all very bio. Maybe, some additional classification of polymers would be needed. The debate on this is already underway at the European level. However, the existing classification is still valid because of this prefix bio, which may give people the feeling that if we are talking about bioplastics, it will be nature-friendly. It is not so. Although many applications, especially for the packaging, are related to single-use, not all used polymers are expected to be degradable. One of the groups of bioplastics is prepared from materials that we find in nature or is synthesized from natural sources. The share of such bioplastics is still minimal, so the consumption of surfaces for these purposes is deficient. However, a lot has already been done in this area, especially on a laboratory scale. The first generation of bioplastics from renewable sources was based on plants rich in carbohydrates. The next generation was more often based on cellulose. Nowadays, a lot of work is being done to use waste as raw material for monomer synthesis and later for polymer synthesis. And which polymers can be made from renewable sources? In fact, anything can be made. However, for now, this is more or less on a laboratory scale. Because the technologies are not yet developed to such an extent, or the technology itself is too expensive to use in industrial production. It is already there for a narrow group of polymers but certainly not yet for broader use. Which are the bioplastics used the most today? The largest share is represented by the so-called drop-in plastics, which is plastics that can also be obtained from petroleum. It is a plastic that has completely identical properties. Mostly it is biopolyethylene terephthalate. Polylactic acid is the most widely used and produced among degradable polymers. As far as the use of bioplastics is concerned, there is no significant difference compared to conventional plastics. It is mainly used for packaging. The molecular structure of polylactic acid is presented here on this slide. Polylactic acid is a linear thermoplastic polyester. The basic monomer for synthesizing polylactic acid can be obtained by fermentation of carbohydrates. The so-called lactate or lactic acid is obtained. This lactic acid can then be directly polymerized, or it can first be converted into dilactide, and then this dilactide is polymerized. Another, perhaps in some way, exciting group of biodegradable polymers, which we can synthesize from natural sources, are polyhydroxyaconodes. They may be interesting because microorganisms synthesize them in response to a reduced amount of nutrients in the environment in given weather. That is, microorganisms accumulate these polymers as food reserves. Suppose we change the circumstances of these microorganisms. In that case, these microorganisms accumulate these polymers, and by destroying their cell structure, we can then acquire them and use them for various purposes. So these two polyhydroxyaconodes and polylactic acid are the two biopolymers that are most widely used nowadays.